Are we ready to start proceedings? Okay. On behalf of the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, who is standing right behind me, it's an honour to welcome you to Kirribilli House on this significant day, a truly important moment in time. Welcome to the Communications Minister, the Honourable Annika Wells. Welcome also to the E-Safety Commissioner, Julie Inman-Grant, and also welcome to the South Australian Premier, Peter Malinauskas, who we'll hear from in a moment's time. My name is Michael Whipfley, or Whipper, from Nova, and today, December 10, 2025, is now marked in history as the day the law changed after the Australian Government chose to put the well-being of teenagers first. Thank you. It's an important day. They chose to put the well-being of Australian families first, and the Australian Government chose to show the world that it's okay to say to big tech, stop, this isn't working, and we can do better for our kids. As the co-founder of 36 Months with Rob Galuzzo from Finch, we led a campaign with one simple aim: to delay the age kids could become a citizen of a social media platform from 13 to 16. Just 36 months. That's all we wanted. A chance for kids to get to know themselves before the world does. We launched with advice from developmental paediatricians. We spoke with many parenting educators. We spoke with many brave parents who are here today who have shared their stories in the hope of change. We met with like-minded groups working in this space and convinced others to help make some noise. We never pretended to be experts on the topic, but what we did represent was what we believed was common sense. And very quickly, a line of nearly 150,000 Australian parents signed the petition, desperate for change, a desperate bid to be heard. They formed an unignorable chorus of voices. That chorus was heard by the Prime Minister, who, with a deep level of research and advice from his experts and his party, made the decision that enough was enough. He joins us now. Please welcome the Prime Minister of Australia, Mr. Anthony Albanese.
Well, thanks so much, Whipper, and good morning to everyone, and thank you all for being here. I begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we're meeting and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. Well, this is a day in which my pride to be Prime Minister of Australia has never been greater. This is world leading. This is Australia showing enough is enough. And the world, including through, I note, some leading media, global organisations who are here, just to confirm, is watching and is following. But Australia is leading. And it's leading not because of actions of my government. It is leading because of some of the heroes who are behind me and who are joining us here today. Australians who've lost a son or a daughter. Australians who have seen the direct impact of social media causing social harm for their families, for their communities. People who have had the courage to take what is a personal tragedy and turn that into a commitment and determination that others who will follow will not go through the traumatic experience that they have. This is indeed a proud day to be Australian, because make no mistake, this reform will change lives for Australian kids and allowing them to just have their childhood, for Australian parents enabling them to have greater peace of mind, but also for the global community who are looking at Australia and saying, well, if Australia can do it, why can't we? This will make an enormous difference. It is one of the biggest social and cultural changes that our nation has faced. It's a profound reform which will continue to reverberate around the world in coming months to assist not just this generation but generations to come. It is about our families taking back control. Technology can have an amazing impact on making our life easier. But it is important as technology develops that humans keep control, that we assert our authority as a society and to back families and to say that enough is enough. We will take back control. We will control the impact that this is having. So to those parents, to those people who have campaigned, people like Whipper and Mel, who you'll hear from as well, but the parents directly affected, I just say you have my admiration. I just bow down to you because this change has come from you and it's a government that has then responded. I do want to acknowledge as well Peter Dutton on a day like today. This legislation passed the Parliament last year with bipartisan support. Peter Dutton's someone who has always cared about the impact of harm on young Australians with a range of the measures that he established as well to protect young people from perpetrators of violence and grooming and other activities as well. So this is a day that I think will be marked down. This is a journey that Australia has gone on. It won't be perfect. It won't be perfect because this is a big change. But I've been asked this morning in media interviews, what will success look like? Success is the fact that it's happening. Success is the fact that we're having this discussion. Parents are talking to their children around the breakfast table. Teachers, as we are speaking, will be speaking to their students. And we as a society, I must say, not just young people as well, but non-young people are also thinking about the impact that scrolling is having on their sleep, that engaging with each other, nothing beats interpersonal communication one-on-one. So it is about, as well, importantly, pushing back against big tech, saying that social media companies have a social responsibility. So we do acknowledge it won't be perfect and we'll work through it. But I do want to work through and acknowledge the work that Minister Wells has done in bringing this to fruition, Minister Rowland in her advocacy previously in the lead up to the legislation being carried, and Julian Grant, who you'll hear from, and her team in the E-Safety Commission for the work that they've done. For the media who've backed this in as well, I've got to say that the tabloids on Sunday, that wraparound was the most powerful use of print media I have seen for a very long period of time. The fact that a great deal of effort had been got into it. But all those in TV, radio, the people who've engaged with this, it is important to have these discussions. So be proud today and remember this day, December 10. I think it will go with the other great reforms that Australia has led the world on. There are many of them in our great democracy that we can be proud of. Things that we call the Australian ballot, for example, is just one of them. Before we go, though, I do want to just say that yes, this is about parents, and largely I spoke with Charlotte's mum, gave a phone call after that tragedy, and the one-on-one discussions I've had with parents really convinced me that this was the right thing to do. But as well as that, we've had young people advocating themselves. And I do want to introduce to you a remarkable young Tasmanian, Flossie, a 12-year-old who I've had the pleasure of welcoming into my office in Parliament House. Now, straight after this event, I'm told that she'll be racing back to Hobart for her last day of primary school and the end of year dance, which is one of the things that people can do. You can't dance if you're online. And it's much more fun to do it than to watch it. And you know what? There's something else, Flossie. The people that you're dancing with at your year 6 school, you'll know are real. Unlike the people online who you don't know, whether they're real, whether they exist, whether it's AI, what really is going on there. So to Flossie, a powerful advocate, just one of the young people who I've met, thank you for your advocacy and for squeezing us into your very tight social calendar. Flossie, I'd ask you to welcome you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Hi, my name is Flossie and I'm 12 years old. I've been learning about how social media affects the developing brain, and I want to explain why I support Australia's world-leading decision to ban social media for under-16s. My project began as a school inquiry, looking into what happens to adolescent brains when using social media and understanding the impact it can have on young people. I spoke with neuroscientist Dr. Lila Landowski and psychologist Cassie Zantavalonis, and the science they shared with me was clear. During adolescence, our brains are going through one of the biggest rewiring periods of our lives. It's a time when we're more likely to take risks, act on impulse, and be shaped by the world around us. Social media is designed to take advantage of that. Every like, every notification, every short video releases dopamine. It keeps our brains hooked, even when it doesn't make us happier or healthier. For developing brains, that constant dopamine drip can actually change the pathways we rely on for focus, self-control, and emotional resilience. Young people deserve better than that. We deserve the chance to figure out who we are without algorithms telling us what to like, what to think, and how to feel. We deserve time with real people to learn body language, tone, empathy, and all the social cues you can't get from a screen. We also deserve boredom too, because boredom is what makes our brains spark creativity and think of big ideas. I also want to say this with respect and care. I know that for some families here today, the harms of social media aren't just research findings. They're deeply personal. I honour the courage of every parent, every sibling, and every young person who has been hurt or lost because of the online world. Your experiences matter, and that's part of the reason I stand here today. My mum always says, when we know better, we do better. The Australian government knows that social media is harming young people, and they're doing something about it. This ban is bold and brave, and I believe it will help kids like me to grow up healthier, safer, kinder, and more connected to the real world. I absolutely support this world-leading decision and hope that other countries look to Australia to follow our lead. Thank you for listening, and thank you for protecting kids like me.
Oh my gosh, Flossie, another round of applause, and I hope my kids are watching. By the age of 15, I need you like Flossie. You are for 12, should I say, Flossie. My gosh, that's extraordinary. Well done. Thank you so much. Okay, joining us now is somebody who has been a force of nature at the coalface. She's a mother of 3, and she's also the Minister for Sport, Minister of Communications, and I know, along with our E-Safety Commissioner, has had to navigate at times uncharted waters and the willingness to push forward against heavy tides. I don't know how you do it. Minister Wells, Minister Annika Wells, please welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Today we change a generation. Today we change a culture. Today we change lives for the better. For many years, the world has allowed the idea that the internet can have different rules from real life, that somehow it can be a free space unregulated by any of the values by which we govern ourselves. The people the Prime Minister has gathered here today are the people who refuse to leave this dilemma in the hands of someone else. You are the people that took this on and demanded children come before trillion-dollar companies. So this is about the parents who have kids who could not be here today. Emma Mason calls them the lost generation. This is for the future, a future Australia is leading. Australia, a continent so far away and now yet so far ahead when it comes to online safety. December 10 will be remembered as a moment that sparked a movement. Not that long ago, auto manufacturers told us that making compulsory seatbelts would break their business model. It couldn't be done. Now, families choose cars based on who offers the safest features. Big tech could compete, like airlines, like auto manufacturers, to have the best safety record to offer their users. And that future is a little bit closer today because of this world-leading law, Australia's law. Private interest is compelled to innovate because of thoughtful regulation. Moments like July 30, when these parents joined us at Parliament House to table the rules for our law. That day was my first press conference as the Minister for Communications, and Mia Bannister, who joins us here today, showed incredible courage to speak to a heaving media pack in the Prime Minister's courtyard. And something Mia said then still sticks with me now. She said, "This law isn't the result of one voice, but the power of many, united in purpose, driven by hope, and committed to protecting our kids." And we see the power of that many today. The power in Paralympic medalist Rowan Crothers, who lives with cerebral palsy and as a gun swimmer at 15 years old was bullied online relentlessly just for not looking like a Paralympian. The power in parents like Ali Halkick, whose son Alan was threatened online through social media posts before he took his own life in 2009. In 2010, Alan was formally recognised as a victim of crime. A landmark ruling, the first in Australia, and 15 years later, with Ali here, we achieve another landmark. And it will change a generation. There is one more line from Mia that I wrote down from that first day that I met you all. Mia said, "Together we made change happen, and we will keep going." That feels even more pertinent today than it did that day in winter. Together we made change happen, and together we will keep going. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Wells. Someone else that has had to answer questions that at times I think were absolutely challenging as we attempt to do something never seen around the world. She's been the cop on the beat. Julie Inman-Grant, our E-Safety Commissioner, for a few words, please.
Thank you, Whippa, and thank you, Prime Minister and Minister, for this opportunity to take this momentous regulation forward. For all of us here who consider social media to be one of the great social experiments of our time on our young people, then perhaps a social media ban will stand as the first true antidote. It starts here, in Australia, today. The world will follow like nations once followed our lead on plain tobacco packaging, gun reform, water and sun safety. How can you not follow a country who is clearly prioritizing teen safety ahead of tech profits? The Prime Minister, our premiers, the Parliament provided the scaffolding. The Minister tabled the rules. The Department delivered a comprehensive age assurance technical trial demonstrating that advanced technologies can and will work. Online safety has always been a team sport. And I'm profoundly proud of my small but mighty team at eSafety who have anticipated the pushback. We've looked around corners and we've built a regulatory framework that is sensible and workable, flexible where it should be, and firm where it must be. We've been crystal clear with the social media companies about their responsibilities, and I have every confidence that the most powerful and innovative industry of all time has the technical capability to meet these obligations with precision and with continuous improvement. Tomorrow, I will issue information notices to 10 major platforms, and we will provide information to the public before Christmas on how these age restrictions are being implemented and whether preliminarily we see them working. The responses to these notices will form the baseline against which we will measure compliance. And as I've said many times, We're not expecting flawlessness. We've built in allowances for that. Enforcement will target systemic failures after rigorous investigation and under our own terms and our own time. These isolated cases of teenage creativity, circumvention, spoofing, and other ingenious ways people will inevitably push boundaries will continue to fill newspaper pages, but we won't be deterred. We are playing the long game. We are united in giving this our very best effort. We will be led by the data, and we will evaluate the impact over time. But a few things are certain. Parents will be backed. Families can reconnect. Technology's tethers will loosen. Australia stands as a global changemaker, firmly on the right side of history. And finally, in honor of the Prime Minister, to riff off my favorite rock band, The Who, the kids will be all right.
Thank you, Julie. Many of the parents who have joined us here today, who I know, many of you personally, have bravely shared their stories, some of who have been forced to live through the most unimaginable moments. Our next guest has been an avid campaigner against sexual extortion and suicide, and this year was recognised as a Victorian of the Year nominee. After losing his son Mac, Wayne channelled his personal devastation in preventing other families from having similar experiences. Thank you for being here, Wayne Holdsworth.
Thanks very much, Whipper, and to the Prime Minister, thank you very much for having us here today. We really do appreciate it. And I guess I speak on behalf of the Let Them Be Kids team that consists of experts like Simon and parents that have lost children, like Emma, like Ali, like Mia, and like me. I'd like to congratulate the Prime Minister, the Federal Communications Minister, Annika Wells, and the previous Communications Minister, Michelle Rowland, Julie Inman-Grant, and also Peter Malinauskas, because they have shown true Australian grit. They have been thrown bumpers, they have been thrown bouncers, head high, balls to the head, and they've just simply knocked them for six, just like Steve Smith did on the weekend. That's what we're talking about. That's the sort of Australian courage that is being demonstrated today, and we're celebrating it. They saw the ball, they got the ball, and then they protected it. They saw the opportunity, they realised the opportunity, and now we will enhance that opportunity. I'd like to thank my team that I love, the Let Them Be Kids campaign team, right from the top, from Michael, from Campbell, GK, the experts and the parents. We in Australia recognise Australians that have done something pretty special with Order of Australia medals, Australian of the Year with the great Neil Danaher, for an example. But in my opinion, we have in our midst an Australian of the Decade in Mel Pilling. She has driven the Let Them Be Kids campaign so hard and so diligently and so passionately that we're here today. I'd like you to put your hands together for her, please. So in finishing, our kids that we've lost haven't died in vain, because today they'll be looking down, very proud of the work that we've all done. And yes, it is bloody hard to repeat over and over and over again Mac's story, and in Emma's case and Mia's case, their story. But today is around the legislation. But today also needs to be around identifying that this is the start, and education from here on, from those 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds will be the silver bullet. Because when they're available to then access social media at 16, they will be fully equipped. They will know about the algorithms. They will know about the sexual predators and terrorists out there, the same that terrorised my boy. So Mia and I, we've gone out and tried to educate people. I've now presented to over 30,000 people in my spare time. I'm a sports administrator. I've spoken to over 200 presentations, and importantly, we have saved 9 lives directly through that education. And I remember in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne presenting to about 400 kids, and a girl on my right hand side was there and waited, and she came over to me and she was teary, and I asked her what was wrong, and she couldn't speak, but she handed me a piece of paper, and I opened that piece of paper, and in that piece of paper was her plan to take her life that night. We got her help that day through the school and her parents, who were oblivious to what her plan was. And on Father's Day this year, she sent me a text message that said, "I'm still alive, Wayno," and I think it makes it all worthwhile. So as I said, our kids will be looking down with pride with the work that we've done. We've only just started. We'll need help with that education, with those programs. We'll need help from federal and state government to roll those programs out for prevention and mitigating the risk that kids like Mac had to go through. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I love you, Mac.
Wayne, that was beautiful, mate. Absolutely well done. And we appreciate all the work that that Wayne has done, and the message has been very clear. And with the other parents here today, as I look at Kelly and Matt, I'm with you today, as we all are. You're doing so well, and you're so brave to share the stories and be here today. As a major part of driving meaningful change in this country, as Wayne highlighted today, is the ability for these stories to be shared. And it's the only way to help people understand the true magnitude of this issue. And from very early on, both through print and online and through the campaign Let Them Be Kids, News Corp recognised the importance of this work. And by working closely with the government, they've helped amplify the key messages of this story that need to be heard. From News Corp, please welcome Mel Pilling.
Thank you, Whipper. Well, today is an historic day. Today is the day Australia becomes a world leader in protecting children online. The social media laws that have come into effect will change lives. They will save lives. This world-first law has been almost 2 years in the making for Let Them Be Kids, but for others it has been so much longer. On May 19, News Corp Australia launched the Let Them Be Kids campaign, advocating for children under 16 to be restricted from social media because of the obvious physical, mental and emotional harm the tech platforms were having on Australia's children. Critically, the campaign had the support of parents who had tragically known better than most the devastating toll that social media can have on young children. Their children had taken their own lives, unable to continue to fight the predators, the bullies, the powerful algorithms that had caused them so much pain. These laws are their legacy. I am incredibly proud of the role that Let Them Be Kids played in helping make these laws a reality. But mostly, I'm proud of the incredibly brave and determined parents that I've had the pleasure of working with, giving them a voice when nobody else was listening. I thank you for your courage, and I thank you for allowing me and many others in my company to tell your story. You trusted us with your story, and I thank you for that. News Corp has a proud history of advocating for its communities, and as the editorial lead on this campaign and speaking as a mother of a teenage daughter, grappling with the all too familiar tensions that social media is triggering in households around Australia, it has been my deepest honour of my career working with these families and these parents to help galvanise support to raise the age of social media and to run an editorial campaign across all of our mastheads on behalf of these families that have advocated in the strongest of terms to save our children, to let them be kids and give them the freedom again to enjoy this period of their lives, because nothing in the world is as precious as our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. It's fair to say our next guest has been a pillar of strength on this topic, leading with a very clear vision and an absolute passion and believing that we must do better than this for our kids. Not only has he led this, but he's often been referred to as, by educator and also author Jonathan Haidt, as the bold catalyst for these reforms. Please welcome the Premier of South Australia, Peter Malinauskas.
Thanks, Whippy. Whipper, it's great to be here. I can't tell the Prime Minister how grateful I am for gathering this group of people here today, and I acknowledge the traditional owners as well. In April last year, my wife was reading a book called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, and she was surmising the book to me as we would go to bed each night as she read it over a couple of weeks. And I'll never forget one night in late April last year, she finished the book, she put it down in her lap, and she turned to me and said, "You better bloody do something about this." And I've been married long enough to know the instructions I've got to abide by, and this was certainly one of them. And we got to work thinking about how we could make a meaningful difference to protect kids from all the dangers that social media, unregulated, represents. And I want to thank today someone who hasn't been mentioned, and that's the former Chief Justice of the High Court of Australia, Robert French, who we asked in South Australia to go away and do a piece of work and craft a law that a state parliament could pass that would give effect to a social media age limit. He completed that work a few weeks later and presented it to the South Australian government. He said, "Look, you could do this at a state level, but it would be far better done nationally." So we presented that report to National Cabinet, and one of the most important days in the lives of every young person in this country was the moment that the Prime Minister of this nation took an opportunity to lead, to dispense concerns about all of the resistance, all of the political risk, but instead take the opportunity for this nation to provide truly international leadership. And a few months after that, a law passed our federal parliament and is now a law of the land. To go from a moment in May to legislation passing our federal parliament of international significance in November is warp speed on any measure. And I was reflecting last night, how did that happen so quickly? And the truth is, it's a question of power. See, the power for this reform doesn't rest in the power of a Prime Minister or a Premier or a politician or the media. It rests in people, as the Prime Minister referred to. But there is one thing that is even more powerful than that. Nothing transcends the power of a parent's love for their child. What this reform does isn't regulate the relationship between social media platforms and children. The power of this reform rests in giving parents the ability to be able to show love for their children and doing what they instinctively know is best. Parents know that this change is overdue. Parents know how to ensure their own kids' safety. And what this law has done is put the power back in the hands of parents so they can continue to love their children with comfort and knowledge that the rest of society and every other family stands with them in making sure that the adoption the adaptation of technology amongst young people is done safely. This is a really special day. The rest of the world is watching. Things will go wrong, errors will occur, but we have made a difference that on balance will dramatically improve the lives of young people in this country, and I'm pretty soon it will also be true for the rest of the world. Thank you, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you for all being here today on such a special day. That concludes the formalities for today. The Prime Minister invites you to stay, grab some food, enjoy the afternoon, and once again, thank you for being here in support on this special day for families across Australia. Thanks very much.